restrictive, performed, necessary. I met her in public for the first time. My feminine side. And once you meet yourself that honestly, once you see your reflection align with something you felt for years, pretending becomes heavier than fear. But there was a wish forming in my chest that I never said out loud. Not to Megan, not to anyone, not even to myself, really, because saying it would mean admitting how much that night had changed me, how much I wanted it to be more than just one evening, how desperately I wanted to wake up and still be her. By morning, that wish would be tested in ways I never imagined. The tuxedo had been rented 3 days before the bridal shower. Planned, prepared, hanging in my closet wrapped in plastic like evidence of who I was supposed to be. Black, classic, safe. I tried it on the day I picked it up, stood in front of the rental shop mirror and felt that familiar tightness, not in the fabric, but in my chest. The way suits always made me feel like I was wearing someone else's uniform, playing a role that technically fit but never quite belonged to me. I'd survived this way for 23 years. Tomorrow, I would zip myself back into expectation. Button up the performance, tie the tie, full of expectations. Morning came the way mornings do when you haven't really slept, gradual and unforgiving. Sunlight cut through my bedroom curtains with winter sharpness, turning everything pale and exposed. Wedding day energy hummed in the air, that specific kind of anticipation that makes time feel both rushed and suspended. The tuxedo was laid out carefully on my bed. Shirt pressed, shoes polished, bow tie waiting to be tied. I stood in the shower longer than necessary, water scalding hot, as if I could wash away the restlessness that had kept me up most of the night, as if I could prepare myself for the return, because that's what today was, a return to reality, to the Alex everyone expected, to the version that didn't ask questions or require explanations. I dried off, stared at myself in the foggy mirror, face bare, hair wet, the person I'd been for 2 decades staring back without comment. This was reality, and reality had rules. I was pulling on the tuxedo pants when my phone rang. The caller ID said, Megan. My stomach dropped instantly. 1,000 thoughts flooded in at once, each one worse than the last. Regret. She regretted last night. Someone had complained. Someone had said something. The magic had worn off in daylight, and now she was calling to, what? Apologize? Rescind the invitation? Ask me to stay home? I answered on the 4th ring, my voice coming out steadier than I felt. Hello? Alex, good morning. Her voice was bright, energized, completely devoid of the panic I'd been imagining. Listen, I know it's early and today is crazy, but I had to call you. Is everything okay? I managed. More than okay. Last night was perfect. Seriously. The ladies haven't stopped texting about it. She laughed. That genuine, unguarded sound that had always made me feel safer. They loved you, Alex. You absolutely killed it. Something in my chest loosened slightly. Really? Really? Which is actually why I'm calling. A pause. Brief, but loaded. I know this is last minute, and I know we talked about you just being a guest today, but... Another pause. Would you be my maid of honor? Time stopped. Actually stopped. The words hung in the air between us. Impossible, terrifying, perfect. Megan, I know it's a lot. She continued quickly, like she prepared this speech. And I know it's different from what we planned. But watching you last night, seeing you so comfortable and happy and just you, I realized that's who I want standing next to me today. Not the version you think you're supposed to be, the version you actually are. I couldn't speak. My throat had closed completely. Plus, she added, her voice softening, Sarah kept the makeup set up from last night, and I may have already pulled aside one of the bridesmaid dresses in your size. Just in case. Megan, I'll be expecting you, Alexa. See you in an hour. The call ended. I stood there, phone still pressed to my ear, tuxedo pants on but shirt unbuttoned, frozen in the space between 2 completely different lives. I hadn't said yes. But my body already knew the answer. I don't remember making the decision. One moment I was standing in my bedroom, phone in hand, brain spinning through every possible consequence and complication. The next moment, I was grabbing my car keys. No internal debate, no weighing pros and cons, no careful consideration of what people might say or how this might look or what it could mean for everything that came after. Just movement, just action, just yes. I drove toward the venue with my heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my fingertips on the steering wheel. The tuxedo stayed home, hanging in my closet like an alternate timeline I'd decided not to live. I kept expecting doubt to catch up with me, kept waiting for the fear to slam on the brakes, to turn the car around, to choose safety over truth, but it never came. I was going to be Megan's maid of honor, not as Alex pretending, not as a performance or a costume or a one-time exception, but as Alexa. Fully, publicly, permanently, or at least for today, which felt permanent enough. The venue was a renovated barn on the outskirts of town, all exposed wooden beams and string lights and windows that let in too much beautiful winter sunlight. Sarah met me at the side entrance, already in her bridesmaid dress, her face breaking into a huge smile when she saw me. "She said you'd come," she said, pulling me into a quick hug. "Come on, we've got about 45 minutes before the ceremony." She led me through a maze of hallways to a small dressing room that smelled like hairspray and perfume in anticipation. And there, hanging on the door, was the dress. Soft sage green satin, floor length. Off the shoulder with delicate sleeves that would rest just below my shoulders. A subtle sheen that caught the light without demanding it. Simple. Elegant. Perfect. "We guessed your size," Sarah said, lifting it carefully from the hanger. But Megan was pretty confident. I reached out, touched the fabric. Cool and smooth beneath my fingertips. Real. "Let's get you ready," she said. The transformation happened faster this time. Maybe because I wasn't nervous. Maybe because I'd already crossed some invisible threshold the night before, and this was just continuation. Sarah worked quickly but carefully. Breast pads positioned and secured. Hip pads that gave shape and balance. The dress slipped over my head like water, settling against my body with a rightness that took my breath away. It fit perfectly, not just physically, but emotionally, like it had been waiting for me. Jessica appeared with the wig from last night. Dark, long, already styled into soft waves. She positioned it with practiced efficiency, tucking, pinning, adjusting, until it framed my face like it had grown there. Heels next, modest, 2 inches. Enough to change my posture, not enough to make me unstable. Then makeup. Sarah's hands moved across my face, with the same confidence as the night before, but this time with slightly more intensity. "This needs to last all day," she explained, blending foundation with expert precision. "And photograph well, eyeshadow in soft browns and golds, mascara that made my lashes look impossibly long, blush swept across my cheekbones, lipstick in a muted rose that matched the dress without competing with it." 40 minutes had passed. The ceremony was starting in 5. "Stand up," Jessica said. "Let's see." I stood, and the dress moved with me, fluid, graceful, like an extension of my body rather than something placed on top of it. They both stepped back, appraising. "Wow," Sarah said quietly, but I was already looking in the mirror, and there she was again. Alexa. Not Alex in a dress. Not performing femininity. Just present. The dress hugged curves that had been created specifically for this moment. The makeup enhanced without hiding. The wig fell in waves that felt natural, effortless. For the first time in my life, I wasn't checking myself, obsessively monitoring every angle, every gesture, every potential flaw that might give me away. I was trusting myself. This didn't feel like becoming someone else. It felt like arriving. Sarah knocked on Megan's dressing room door. "Special delivery," she called. "Come in." I stepped inside. Megan was standing in front of a full-length mirror, adjusting her veil, already in her wedding dress. A stunning ivory gown with lace sleeves and a train that seemed to go on forever. She turned toward me and stopped. Her hand flew to her mouth. Tears formed instantly in her eyes, the kind that threatened to ruin carefully applied makeup. "Don't you dare," her mother warned from the corner, holding tissues like weapons. "We don't have time for a redo." But Megan ignored her, crossing the room in 3 quick steps, pulling me into a hug that was tight and desperate and full of things neither of us needed to say out loud. "You came," she whispered against my shoulder. "You asked," I whispered back. She pulled away, holding me at arm's length, studying my face like she was memorizing it. "You look," she paused, searching for the right word. "Right, you look right. Not beautiful, not pretty, not transformed, right, like this was who I'd always been and she'd simply created the space for me to step into it." "Thank you," I managed, my voice cracking slightly. A knock on the door interrupted us. "5 minutes," someone called. Megan wiped her eyes, took a deep breath, and turned back to the mirror to check her makeup. "Ready to do this?" she asked. I nodded. Ready didn't even begin to cover it. The music started. That classic processional that everyone knows, that signals everything's about to begin. The bridesmaids lined up. I took my place, first in line, maid of honor position. My heart was hammering, but not from fear, from presence. From the sheer reality of standing here, in this dress, about to walk down an aisle in front of 200 people who would see Alexa before they even knew Alex existed. The doors opened. Winter sunlight poured through the barn windows, catching dust particles and making everything look ethereal, suspended. One by one, the bridesmaids began their walk. Then it was my turn. I stepped forward, and the room, already quiet, seemed to hold its breath, but not in judgment, in witnessing. I walked slowly, steadily, chin up, shoulders back. The dress moved with me. The heels clicked softly against the wooden floor. I could feel eyes on me, but for once, being seen didn't feel dangerous. It felt necessary. I took my place at the front, turned to face the guests, and there, in the third row, I saw my own mother. Her face was unreadable. Shock, confusion, maybe the beginning of understanding. Our eyes met for a brief second, and I saw her mouth form a silent question. But then, the bridal march began, and everyone stood, and Megan appeared at the end of the aisle, and the moment passed into something larger than just me. The ceremony was beautiful, traditional, full of the kind of promises that make you believe in forever, even when you're not sure you believe in tomorrow. I stood next to Megan, holding her bouquet when required, adjusting her train, witnessing her marriage with a presence I'd never felt before at any event in my entire life. Because I wasn't performing, I wasn't translating, I wasn't carefully managing how much space I took up or how visible I was just there, fully, completely. When the officiant pronounced them married, when they kissed, when everyone cheered, I felt joy that was uncomplicated by fear. This became one of the most meaningful weddings I had ever attended. Not because of who I was pretending to be, but because of who I was allowed to be. The reception happened in a blur of champagne toasts and first dances and cake cutting, and speeches that made everyone laugh and cry in equal measure. I danced with the other bridesmaids, posed for photos that would exist forever, evidence that this had been real, accepted compliments from people who had no idea they were witnessing something profound instead of simply attending a wedding. My mother approached me during dinner. "We need to talk," she said quietly. "I know," I replied, "but not today. Today is Megan's day." She nodded slowly, studying my face in a way she never had before, like she was seeing me, actually seeing me for the first time. "You look happy," she said finally. "I am," I answered, and it was true. The day ended the way weddings do, with sparklers and a departure and guests slowly filtering out into the cold night, carrying leftover cake and memories that would fade into pleasant nostalgia. I helped clean up, changed back into comfortable clothes, but not the tuxedo. That stayed home, abandoned. I folded the sage green dress carefully, reverently, like a relic from a different life that had briefly overlapped with this one. No dramatic fallout, no scandal, no punishment for stepping out of the box I'd been assigned. Just truth. Just presence. Just me. And the realization, settling into my bones like certainty. I didn't lose myself that day. I found her. And she stayed. Some wishes are dangerous, not because they hurt us, but because once granted, they demand honesty. The bridal shower gave me permission to meet myself. The wedding gave me permission to stay, because now I knew what it felt like to exist without translation, to be chosen as myself instead of accepted as someone else, to stand in a room full of people and feel present instead of performed. There would be conversations ahead. Difficult ones. My mother's questions, my father's silence, friends who knew Alex but hadn't yet met Alexa. But Megan had shown me something that day that I couldn't unlearn. When the people who love you are brave enough to see you, being seen becomes less terrifying than staying hidden. If someone's acceptance ever surprised you, if you've ever been given permission you didn't know you needed, if you've ever had someone choose the real you over the version you thought they wanted, you know how that moment changes everything. This isn't the end of Alexa's story. Discovering yourself is never just one moment. It's a series of choices, conversations, and commitments to keep showing up as the person you finally allowed yourself to be. If you want to know what happens next, how the conversations went, what came after the wedding, how Alexa navigated a world that had only known Alex, stay tuned. And if you're walking this path quietly, somewhere between who you were and who you're becoming, you're not alone. Leave a comment. Tell me about the moment acceptance surprised you. Tell me about the person who chose you when it mattered most. Because your story matters, and sharing it might be the permission someone else needs to find themselves too. The end.
The Gender Diary exists to light that path with shared stories. Whether you found connection in this narrative, you're on your own journey of gender exploration, or you're here seeking understanding, your subscription fuels our mission. Every subscriber empowers us to keep illuminating these authentic experiences for our community. Kindly drop a comment below. Your voice adds to the tapestry of experiences that makes this space meaningful. Until our next story unfolds.